Talktainment Radio Worldwide Sound. Talktainmentradio.com. We give you a reason to come. The world's greatest radio. We give you a reason to stay. Radio, the way it should be heard. You got the power.
The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guest and not necessarily those of TalkTainmentRadio.com, the management, the staff, or K&E World Network, LLC.
Live call-in talk show. Dial 1-877-932-9766 and join the conversation here on TalkTainmentRadio.com.
This is the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio. Radio, the way it should be heard. And now, Mr. Neely Fuller.
If you do not understand white supremacy, which is racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Only confuse you. Only confuse you.
All right, welcome to the September the 26th, 2018 show, which I will be mentioning a few times, of the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. I am Mr. Bobby, your co-host, and you're listening to it via TalkTainmentRadio.com. We go where you go, the world's greatest radio. Again, you are in touch with the Compensatory Concept. I'm Mr. Bobby, and this is radio the way it should be heard. Several very, very important things to mention. Let's start off with this. Right now, as we had a meeting this morning, and the sales for our donations for the second hour are coming in very slow. In fact, so much slow that the second hour or next week might be the second of we may not do the second hour, put it that way. On October the 30th, it could be the last show for the second hour. We will still have the first hour of the Compensatory Concept, but if donations don't pick up, then we're just going to go back to the 1 hour format, and you know how jammed packed that will be. We never had enough time, but we need you to actually support the show for the donations for the second hour. TalkTainmentRadio.com will take care of the first hour, but the cost of electricity, the phones, everything else that is involved in the show, it actually costs money, and we simply do not have enough of your donations coming in. And you said that you wanted the second hour. Nothing in this life is for free. So if the second hour of the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. and myself, Mr. Bobby, means that much to you, send in your donations. Now, it will be on the screen when he puts up the screen how you can make that donation, but if you go to the TalkTainmentRadio.com homepage, you will see the yellow or gold button. That's all you have to do. You don't have to mail it in or anything if you don't want to. Just hit that button, and then we will get whatever donations you want to do. And then, of course, there will be other announcements in this hour and in the second hour to tell you what to do. So if it means that much to you, then you need to donate. Now, I'm not telling you to do that, but if it means that much to you, then donate. Mr. Fuller and I are not compensated for the time that we have. Personally, I love doing it and think that Mr. Fuller's advice or suggestions are very good, and this message needs to be out. Okay, enough of that. All righty. Mr. Fuller is on the line live from Washington, D.C., so let me introduce him to some and present to others, Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. And as usual, I will ask him, Mr. Fuller, good morning, and how are you this morning?
Good morning. I'm still learning.
You're still learning. That's right. And we all have need to be taught. As long as you're alive, you're learning. You're being taught, and we need to be taught and understand. Okay. What we've been doing, or Mr. Fuller has compiled a list of movies that he has suggested that you want to look into and get different messages or glean some information from these. And I'm not going to go over them as we usually do. But what I am going to do is ask Mr. Fuller to continue that list. Now, Mr. Fuller, we stopped off at number 24, which was D-Day, June 6, 1944. So what contributions do you have? And by the way, it was suggested to me by one of our emailers that you give, maybe 5 that you thought of, but whatever you have, we will take it, starting with number 25. So if you're ready, what are the movies that you have for today's show?
Okay, I don't have that list right in front of me right now, but I have a partial list of it. Which one did I leave off on?
You left off on D-Day, June 6, 1944. That was the last one. That was the 24th out of the 40.
Yes, D-Day, the 6th of June, 1944.
Yes, sir.
Right. That was about the invasion of Normandy Beach in World War II. But the story, most of the storyline is about relationships between people.
Okay.
Actually, I mean, it's just the last part of it was combat scenes and whatnot. But there are lessons in that, mostly about relationships.
Yes, sir.
A lot of female people do not like to look at war movies and whatnot, but it's a war setting, but it's mostly about relationships. In fact, some of the movies that I recommend, the titles do not really correspond so much with the settings themselves in the movie and what the storylines are about, because most of the movies that I recommend are about relationships between people, what I call politics, people relations.
Yes. And
how they interact and and under what conditions and what values they put on the conditions that they're in, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Later on, I'll talk about at some point the lessons that I recommend that people pay attention to in all of these movies.
Okay.
I'm just presenting the movies right now.
Okay.
But later on, at some point, if I'm still on the air, and on my website, I will list a lot of the lessons to be looked for, not in the individual movies, but in the movies, all of them as a conglomerate.
All righty.
Because everything is interactive. So I mentioned Saving Private Ryan. Did I?
Yes, you did.
I did. Okay. Then there's another one, which is also setting World War II. 8 Iron Men.
8 Iron Men. Okay.
Another one, A Town Like Alice.
A Town Like Alice?
Yes.
A Town Like Alice, okay.
That's setting in World War II also, but in Australia, the continent of Australia. Band of Brothers, which is a series in World War II.
Okay.
A TV series. I forgot how many parts are in that series.
Yes.
Oh, Band of Brothers.
Yeah, there are quite a few parts in there. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Right. And there's another one, Schindler's List.
Schindler's List, okay. Schindler's List, okay.
And is that enough for now?
If you can give me 2 more, and by the way, I'm looking through the list, and I have not seen Saving Private Ryan, so I'm going to list that. That would be number 29, Saving Private Ryan.
Yes.
Okay, Saving Private
Ryan.
Okay. If you
Okay,
give me 2
a lot
more.
of combat scenes in there. It's not a whole lot of lessons in there, but it's a history lesson. I think that's very well done.
Yes.
About the non-glories that come out of conflict in the form of what you call armaments in combat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, excuse me. I was writing these down, Mr. Fuller, as we went on. So, yeah, you can't see it on TV, but I'm writing it down. Okay, do you have, okay, that's 29.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Schindler's List.
Yeah, you did that. That was number 28.
Another one called Hiroshima. Now, that was on television many years ago. I don't even think that is listed as a movie. It might be a television program.
Okay.
It's very well done.
Okay.
But it's about the dropping of the bomb on August the 6th.
Okay.
1944.
Okay.
The first atomic bomb.
Alrighty.
Dropped on people. All right.
Okay.
Best years of our lives.
Wait a minute. Let me put that down. Best years of our lives?
Yes.
Okay.
That's about post-World War II.
Okay. Best years of our lives. Okay. Let me do this. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, that's 7 for today. That's number 31. So we'll leave it right there. Okay, now the topic for today is why. That's what I put out on the list. Why? We're going to address that. But before we do, we have a caller on the line. Before we get into today's subject. So, caller, what is your question for Mr. Fuller?
Hello?
Yes, you can be heard. What is your question for Mr. Fuller?
My question was, how can black people overcome the fear of challenging white supremacy? I think that the reason a lot of times black people are afraid to speak about white supremacy because they're afraid of the repercussions that might come along with it, such as being harassed or death threats. So my question again was, how can black people overcome that fear?
Okay, Mr. Fuller?
You don't try to overcome the fear. That fear is real. And the circumstances that bring on the fear is real. You're correct. You're on a job and you start talking about racism all the time, that sends out a flag. That's a bell that's going off. And in many cases, you are working yourself out of a job, which is not what you intend to do. So on job situations, or in situations where you begin to sense that people begin to fear you because you're talking about racism, both black people and white people are backing away from you. You simply don't talk about racism. See, counter-racist codification is about science. It's about getting results. It's not about just doing things because you want to do it, even if it's the correct thing to do. It's about going about doing things so that you get the most constructive result out of what you're doing. So, in a compensatory way, which is also a title in the code book, compensatory, meaning, how do you make up for what's missing? Okay? What's missing is justice. So you center on what you're trying to get rid of racism for. It's the reason why you're trying to get rid of racism. It's so you can replace it with something better.
Mm-hmm.
No point in replacing racism with something that's worse than racism, whatever that might be. That doesn't make sense. That's not logical. But you're trying to replace racism with what? Something that most people throughout the world say that they are all for. And that is a thing called what? Justice.
All righty.
Justice meaning guaranteeing that no one is mistreated and guaranteeing that the person that needs help the most gets the most help. And in most cases, in the system of white supremacy, on job situations and every other situation that you can name, when you look around, who are the people who are being mistreated the most in the system of white supremacy? And who are the people who need help the most constructive help in the system of white supremacy? You will find, I think, by discovery or whatever, most of them will be classified as black and or non-white. All right? So if just through the process of talking about justice at the lunch table, talking about just two things, guaranteeing right there on that job, nobody being mistreated. Is anybody on this job being mistreated? Anybody. Okay? That's not supposed to happen anywhere. Not only on jobs, that's not supposed to happen anywhere in the world, even for 5 minutes. All right? 2 minutes. 20 seconds. A second. No one is supposed to be mistreated ever. All right? So you can say that without having to look over your shoulder and see who's going to disagree with it.
Mm-hmm.
I think most people white, non-white, male, female, whomever, most people are not going to say, well, it's okay to mistreat people in some circumstances. I don't think anybody's ever going to say that, and without them getting in trouble, all right? So that's the way you go. And is everybody getting the constructive help that they need? And you start with the person that needs the most help, okay? If Miss Mary Jones down the hall looks like she's struggling, she needs the most help, then everybody in that factory, in that office building, is supposed to say, wait a minute, this lady works here. And we are not supposed to have anybody mistreated here, and we are supposed to be helping everybody who's here, starting with the person that needs the most help. So if Miss Mary Jones down the hall in Section 4 needs the most help, then everybody is supposed to concentrate on seeing to it that Miss Mary Jones gets the help that she needs. That's all you have to do.
That's all you have to do.
I hope that answers your question, because a lot of people keep saying that.
Okay.
So what can we do without getting in trouble and whatnot? You shouldn't ever get in trouble by saying you're for justice and against non-justice.
Alrighty.
That's all you have to say. You don't even have to mention color.
Okay.
That will take care of itself.
Take care of itself. Okay. You're listening to TalkTeamRadio.com, radio the way it should be heard. Calling number is 1-877-932-9766. You can also listen to it by going to the TalkTeamRadio.com homepage, and make sure you click Listen Live. Listen Live, and there's a whole lot of information that is on there, so do that. I'll give you the other addresses that you can get in contact with the show. TalkTeamRadio.com is a 24/7 worldwide broadcasting facility with hosts delivering on various topics, such as news, lifestyle, sports, law, health, wellness, religion, and of course politics. Now, I'm going to share this one with you. Talk Team at Radio had I guess you call it a radiothon this past Thursday, and one of the people that I met was Brother Heru from the program that we had about the kinsman. Now, I spoke with this brother, and I'm going to tell you right now, while we often speak of somebody being heavy, it was wonderful to hear this brother. Now, if you haven't taken the time to listen to the kinsman, you should. You should listen to that talk. And that show and other shows are exclusive to TalkTeamRadio.com. And all you have to do is go to our homepage, click under programs, and then you'll see the kinsman word is listed, and the time, a little bio about the brother. And trust me on this one, you will be glad that you did. All that's from Radio the Way It Should Be Heard. TalkTeamRadio.com. The radio the way it should be heard. My name is Mr. Bobby. I am the co-host on the Compensatory Concept with Mr. NEELY Fuller Jr. And our topic today is why, which we will get into, but we're going to get into it after we take this phone call. Okay, caller, this is your chance. You are live on the air with Mr. Fuller. What is your question?
Hello? Yes, it's really a little statement before you start your show. Mr. Fuller lists movies. I have a movie I think everybody should watch. It's called Sicario 2, Days of Dario. It just came on DVD. In the movie, the United States government goes to Mexico, kidnaps a rival drug cartel's daughter. Then they set up the other cartel as if they kidnapped the little girl. When things go bad or it backfires on the United States government, they try to kill the little girl, plus also kill the non-white man who helped kidnap the little girl to cover their tracks. So I think you should add that to Mr. Fuller's list. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I guess that could be filed under VGQ. Thank you, sir, for the suggestion. But right now, we are going on the suggestions that Mr. Fuller has. But of course, there are movies that you see, which I'm going to mention another one here very shortly. But that list seems to be something that people would like to have. And if you do have one, maybe you can call in like this brother did and suggest that. Okay, Brother Nazir, this is your question for Mr. Fuller. He said Mr. Fuller has stated that why is the most important question for victims to ask. Why merely gives us the white supremacist motivation? Using counter-racist compensatory logic, I would put forward that the question, how, is of greater importance. Reason being, how better allows us to understand the mechanics of the system and so be better placed to take it apart. My question or request for Mr. Fuller would be for him, you Mr. Fuller, to elaborate in his answer as to whether he agrees or disagrees with his analysis. And that question stemmed from what you have written, Mr. Fuller, in the front of the book, and it says, if you do not understand white supremacy, racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Mr. Nazil wants a further explanation on that, please, sir.
Well, actually, no question takes precedence over any other question. I just said that why is a very important question to ask about anything. People want to do things, and and the four wants that I list in the textbook for victims of racism. That's the second question that you ask. You say, what do you want to do? Or you ask yourself, what do I want to do? And then the next question is, why do I want to do it? But then it gets into how, how do you plan to do it? That's the fourth one. And what plan do you have? What plan does Neely Fuller have to do what he wants to do after he ascertains why he wants to do it? So all questions are equal. Just depends on what it is you're trying to do at the time you're trying to do it. Any question that helps you to solve a problem. See, it's all about problem solving. What we really should be aiming for is not to have what you might call proud black people. Black people walking around with their chest stuck out saying, I'm proud to be black. Mm-hmm. All right. That was okay as a starting slogan many decades ago. But when you get right down to the wire, black people should be known here in 2018 to be what? More than anything, constructive problem solvers. That's it. That should be the goal. We should become a problem-solving people rather than a problem-making people, which is what we have a reputation for being. Here come the black people, look for problems to be made. Here they come, that's all they're good for doing, is just making one problem after another, and then crying and moaning and want to fight about it, the problems that they made. That's the kind of reputation that the white supremacists want to keep us in. So if we just concentrate, every move that we make, a problem-solving move in the most constructive manner, and then we fill in the pie by asking how are we going to go about doing it. That question, how, that's when that kicks in. Mm-hmm. How are you going to go about solving problems? Well, the first thing is you're going to learn how to solve problems. Learn from whom? Whomever you see solving problems. All right? That's an excellent start. Start with the people who have a reputation for solving problems, and just start looking at how they go about doing things. Now, nobody on the planet, white or non-white, is the quality of people that people ought to be. But you can start. You got to start somewhere.
Okay.
So you study whatever person you see, white or non-white, male or female, anywhere on the planet, and you see that person doing something that seems to be solving problems, that's who you pay most attention to.
Okay.
Not the person who is just come day, go day, God send Sunday if you want to, mm-hmm. or the person who is making problems, which is what black people are prone to do. We've been taught to do that.
Yes.
Study the problem makers and then copy them.
Yes.
All right. Be a gangster. That's not a problem solver. A gangster is not a problem solver. All right. Even though we have all kind of gangsters in the world,
Ooh,
the white supremacists are the biggest.
Yes.
Okay. But look for, even among the white supremacists, look for those people who solve the most problems and say that, hey, you can probably use their format. Why? Because they solve problems. They make the water come on. They learn how to build a highway, you know.
Yes, sir.
If you know how to build a railroad, that's problem solving. All right? You learn how to run a railroad, I mean, and, you know, and run it for hundreds of miles and whatnot, a railroad, and keep those tracks in line, and know how to go around and inspect the tracks, which is what you have to do.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Yes, sir.
How to maintain a railroad track. That's real important. Why? Because if you don't maintain that track, what's going to happen? You're going to lose the track, and then you're going to lose that rail car that comes down the track.
Okay.
All right.
Got it.
These are just examples.
Okay, let me squeeze this question, or rather, caller in here. Okay, caller, you're up against the break, but go ahead and ask your question for Mr. Fuller, please.
Good morning, Mr. Bobby, Mr. Fuller. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, brother.
Okay, yes. Mr. Fuller, in your book, in the politics section, you give 2 codified responses that people should use to the question of how are you doing. On this program, we typically hear you respond, I'm still learning. And the other one that you suggest in the book is, I'm maintaining cooperating. What is your definition of maintaining cooperating? And also, why do you suggest these 2 codified responses to that question?
Okay. Mr. Fuller?
Well, the first one, I just say that I'm still learning. And that is a reminder. People have asked me, why do I say that? That's a reminder to me. See, I'm not really. See, everything in the code is directed both basically for me, because when I first started writing the code, I was writing it for myself.
Yes, sir.
And then other people started asking me. They saw the way I went about doing things on a job or something like that. And they say, Fuller, you talk kind of peculiar, but you got ways of going about doing things that, things kind of seem to fall in place. And I say, well, hey, I do it by stumbling and fumbling and making mistakes.
Okay.
Which is what I was doing when I started writing the code.
Okay.
So I said, I got to stop making so many mistakes and start doing things that work.
Okay, 2 minutes till the break. Go ahead.
And that's how I came up with the idea of saying, I'm still learning, because I never really emphasized. I always learned things, but I learned things mostly for entertainment, like a lot of black people did. I mean, things that make me feel good and all like that. I say, well, I just got to, start setting my mind set to start learning about how to solve problems. Why? Because I keep getting problems, and I'm not solving them. And so I'm going to try to learn something about how to go about solving every problem that I encounter in the best way. So I say I'm still learning as a reminder to me. That's the reason I do that. Now, the other things that I do are all to support that, okay? But it's all about just one. I always like to say it should be one word: problem solving, constructive problem solving. That should be just one word when it comes to black people: constructive problem solving. And that should be just drummed in our heads all day long, every day, every night, as long as we're on the planet. Constructive problem solving, constructive problem solving, constructive problem solving, like a record that's stuck in that groove.
Yes. Okay. So there you have it. Thank you for the call, my brother. Hope that that supplied you with the answer that you needed. Okay, let's do this here as I'll venture toward this. TalkTameAtRadio.com. Listen, we go where you go. Check us out on 94.1 WGRN. Podcasts are available, and all you have to do is download the TalkTameAtRadio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. That is radio the way it should be heard. Now, stay right there. We're going to have more of your Gmails, more of your phone calls, and we still are answering this question, why? One should always ask why. All that and more coming up next on the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., heard here on TalkTameAtRadio.com.
For the best home fragrance and beauty products, shop Ash Chicken online.
That's ASHKICKIN.
Made with 100% natural quality ingredients and handcrafted with your family in mind, Ash Chicken products are better than those other guys. Ash Chicken candles, incense, body butter, face moisturizer, and hair moisturizer are priced just right, and you can get yours at 10% off with coupon code TALK17. Support this 100% black-owned business and get your home and body smelling and feeling all right.
That's ASHKICKIN.
Shop Ash Chicken online at www.ashkickin.com.
Are you ready for a high school that allows you to work at a place that is right for you? Are you ready to earn a certification in healthcare, business, or manufacturing while achieving your high school diploma? Then you are ready for Life Skills High School, a free public school option for high school students 16 to 21 years old. Learn more about your free high school educational options at lifeskillshs.org or call them at 1-800-888-7992. Life Skills High School, education that fits your life.
Sex Code War by Kahari Inahara, the author of the Essence Magazine bestseller Race Code War, is releasing his second book, Sex Code War. Be on the lookout for Sex Code War.
If you or someone you know is abusing drugs and or alcohol and want to stop the abuse, contact APDS at 1409 East Livingston Avenue. Office hours are 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. daily and 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturday. APDS is certified by the Ohio Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services and primarily funded through the Adam H. Board. Fees are based on your income and Medicaid is always accepted. For more information, call 614-253-4448.
This is Al Edmondson, owner of a Cutter Brother Rest Barbershop. I'm calling on all barbers and beauticians. It's time for us to unite as one. We can serve our communities better together. Join the Ohio Black Barber Beauty Network. For more information, visit www.obbn.org or call 614-427-3226 to get more information. Be the change that you want to see in your community. Join our network.
TalkTainmentRadio.com is proud to present the Compensatory Concept. It is an effective system for countering the effects of white supremacy. TalkTainmentRadio.com is able to carry the first hour. However, the cost for the second hour is exceeding our limited budget. That is why we ask for your kind assistance in keeping the second hour on the air. If you believe like we do, help us in this struggle for justice. Go to the gold donate button on the TalkTainmentRadio.com web page and hit the gold donate button. That's the gold donate button. And please donate. Help us to keep the second hour of the Compensatory Concept on the air. Thank you.
Live call-in talk shows. Dial 1-877-932-9766 and join the conversation here on TalkTainmentRadio.com.
I think I'm entitled. You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Go ahead. Make my day.
Keep your friends close, but your enemies closer.
Michael, we're bigger than U.S. Steel.
You got the power.
TalkTainmentRadio.com. We go where you go. Download the TalkTainmentRadio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. That is radio, the way it should be heard. My name is Mr. Bobby, and I am the co-host on the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., and our topic today is a three-letter word, why? Why? And Mr. Fuller is addressing that along with your other questions. You notice as we came into break, we always have played that the truth, you want the truth, but you can't handle the truth. That wasn't just put in there. My opinion is most people, they want the truth, but they can't handle the truth once they get it. That's been proven over and over. But this is why this program is on the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Fuller, to break it down in the form of suggestions so that you can have a better opportunity in the fight for justice. And he has explained the compensatory term for justice, and I'm sure that he will do that again on this program. Now, listen, you can get in touch with the program by calling 1-877-932-9766. You can also go to this. Go to the TalkTainmentRadio.com homepage and click Listen Live. It's right on I think it's on the right hand side. You can't miss it. Listen live. Hey, while you're there, hit that donate button. But you can also do this. Go to the YouTube channel and then type in the word Talktainment. Then I think you scroll down. I'm trying to do this by memory. You scroll down and then type in the word radio. And then you type in the word Talktainment number 2, and you're there. And while you're there, hit the like and subscribe button. Yeah, as a matter of fact, when you go to the TalkTainmentRadio.com homepage, hit the like and subscribe button. That really means a whole lot. Don't forget to donate. And also, you can go to Facebook.com/Talktainment, and you can hear the program replay. Also, you can also go to the TalkTainmentRadio.com homepage, and this program, I think, airs at 10 p.m., the rebroadcast or podcast of the program. So make sure you do that. Okay, let's go to the Gmails. And Gigi, I hope that I am reading this properly. Mr. Fuller, Gigi has 2 questions. It says 2 things. Number 1, I don't think my question regarding the definition of quote code on page 47, that's in the revised edition, and the one on page 46 are saying 2 different things. On page 46, it says that the result is the code, and on page 47, it says that the method of getting the constructive result is the code. Now, technically, those are not the same 2 things. The result is not the method. The result is the result, and the method that produces the result is the method. And that's why I asked whether there is a mistake in the second paragraph from the top of page 46. Codification logically is about the mechanics of a constructive response that can end the system of white supremacy racism. And therefore, the result itself of any action is that part of the code itself, as Mr. Fuller writes on page 46, second paragraph from the top. I guess at the last part she was asking the question. And the second part of that is this. Also, please can Mr. Fuller comment on the confusing Chinese, quote, takeover of Africa? Thank you. Long question. Okay, well, let me read this then. It says, let me ask, okay. She says on the first part about the the questions or the results on page 46 and 47 of the revised edition, the last part of it says, of any action, is that part of the code itself, as Mr. Fuller writes on page 46, the second paragraph.
Okay, well, what seems to be the problem?
Well, if I'm correcting it,
this is about problem solving. See, every time you have a problem, think about all of the different ways that you can probably solve that problem. Mm-hmm. Study each of these ways and try what appears to be the very best solution to that problem.
Yes.
If the very best of what you try produces a constructive result, regard that result as the code for that specific problem. Codify everything that you say or do.
Yes.
Now, so the question is that a valid statement? I guess that's the question. Is that a useful statement? Is that a useful suggestion? Codify everything that you do? Does that seem to be a problem? I mean, I don't know. I don't know where the problem is that's being addressed here.
Okay.
There seems to be a contradiction the person is saying.
Well, she was saying that is there a mistake because of the way that the 2 methods that you suggested may be. She thought that there may be a mistake in there, but that's why she wanted some type of clarification. But you have mentioned about codified everything, and I think that as you do that, that can bring about some clarity in a particular situation.
Yes, well, a mistake would be some type of contradiction. It appears that's what she is saying. There could be, but I don't see it.
Okay.
So it has to be pointed out to me. I'm just saying that if you're solving a problem, every time you have a problem, think about all the different ways that you can probably solve that problem.
Okay.
I don't see a mistake there.
Okay.
Study each of these ways and try what appears to be the very best solution to that problem.
Okay.
One way to orchestrate it is you just make a list of the things that that you consider to be a problem, and then think about all the different ways that you can probably solve that problem.
Yes, sir.
Make another list.
Yes, sir.
Of all the different ways. Then pick the best of the list that you make toward the problem solving.
Right. That would be the logical.
That would be the logical procedure.
Exactly.
Now, once you try it and it works, then that becomes a part of the code.
Okay, got it.
All right.
All right, now.
That's the whole concept.
Okay.
It's the codified concept. Once you find something that works, that's automatically
okay. All right.
Codification.
All right.
Why? That's how all codes are. Something that works.
Yes, sir.
Every time you do it, it works.
Okay. Now, the second part of that question is also, can Mr. Fuller comment on the confusing Chinese takeover of Africa? Before you answer that, Mr. Fuller, I just saw an article before I came in last night, and I wasn't aware of this, but China has given $60 billion to, didn't say what country, but it says to Africa. That is what the article said, to Africa. And the question came up in my mind, oh, by the way, $60 billion for nothing. And it made me wonder, nobody gives $60 billion or anything for nothing. I don't understand that. Why would they do that? There had to be a reason. They just didn't arbitrarily do that. So I think that this is a valid question. She said, once your response to this, can Mr. Fuller comment on the confusing Chinese, and this is air quotes, takeover of Africa?
Well, the Chinese can't take over anything, all right, that the white supremacists don't want taken over. So let's get that out of the way right quick.
Right quick, okay.
The Chinese, the last time I checked, are considered to be non-white. In the system of white supremacy, anything that happens on this planet that the white supremacists disapprove of, as long as they have their power, and they have it right now, it ain't going to happen, all right? Now, if it happens to be some people who call themselves Chinese, who are in Africa, well, the white supremacists will look at that and see how far it goes and whether or not it's going to hurt their business. If it hurts the business of white supremacists,
yes,
it won't be the Africans who will oppose the Chinese being there. If the Chinese are really doing something constructive, and so if they're in there doing things that are non-constructive, then the white supremacists will go along with it. If they're doing anything of constructive value for the Africans, then you are going to see in the news that, like I have heard, this has been tried before. The Chinese, I understand, in the 1960s, went into a place called Zimbabwe, and they started building railroads. And now those railroads are sitting idle because the Chinese were told, you are not going to build any railroads in Zimbabwe. So I have been told. Now, I may have been misinformed, but I've been told that the white supremacists of the world let these non-white people know who knew how to build railroads, you're not going to build any railroads in Zimbabwe. If we wanted that done, we would have built them ourselves. So you're not doing that. And so you're going to have to get your hat, which, as I understand, they did. Why? Because we have the muscle to make you leave. All right? Who has the muscle? That's what it comes down to at the end of the day. And so we'll have to see how this plays out. It could be that the people who are called Chinese are going along with really what is a white supremacist extension of their program.
Yes.
In which case, there will be a so-called Chinese takeover.
Because this is a business. White supremacy is a business.
Yes, but yes, if it helps the system of white supremacy. But you're going to start hearing if they are opposing white supremacy in Africa, and these people who are called non-white, who are called Chinese, and they are in Africa, and they're opposing the things that the white supremacists have done there, or are doing now.
Yes, sir.
And helping the people there in a constructive manner, you better believe there's going to be a serious conflict between the white supremacists and those people who say that they are Chinese.
Yes. Okay, let's do this here. TalkTameItRadio.com is a 24/7 no-charge worldwide broadcasting facility. Now, TalkTameIt Radio supplies this program, and all you have to do is go to the TalkTameItRadio.com homepage, and you can click that on TalkTameIt Radio to your cell or to your tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. Now, my name is Mr. Bobby. I am the co-host of the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. And if you are a follower of this program, you know that somewhere around the 45-minute mark, this is what we do. We give Mr. Fuller an opportunity to push his book. And Mr. Fuller, this is the 45-minute mark. Before I take this phone call, we need you to talk about your book, how you can get it, and all the latest information. Go ahead, Mr. Fuller.
I'll just say right off, go to producejustice.com, producejustice.com. And some of my book orders have fallen off sharply. And just like I guess people have stopped donating to the program.
Yes, sad.
It is kind of something mysterious, I think, is going on here, or unless I miss my guess. And it might be something that the white supremacists are doing. I don't know.
Okay.
They might be interfering with the second hour of the program, which I had nothing to do with it anyway. That's something that the people requested, I'd been told.
Yes.
But it could be that the donations are falling off because there's some pressure somewhere, okay? Or it might be just one of those things where people are short of money. Now, it's the same way with my book distribution sales. They have fallen off. But you can get the book for those who still want it by going to producejustice.com, producejustice.com. And what will come up on the screen is the method for ordering the basic book and the supplementary, the extension of the basic book, in addition, called the Compensatory Counter-Racist Word Guide, how to use words, how not to use words, what questions to ask when other people use the words.
Okay.
And I also have the original edition of the basic textbook.
Yes.
The revised expanded edition, the 1984 edition, is the original edition in that form.
Yes, sir.
Actually, the very, very, very original edition was a manuscript form that came out in 1956 and 57. Okay. But I have the 1984 edition there because people have requested it.
Yes, sir.
I'm not just in the business of trying to sell books. I'm trying to push a concept, all right, that I hope catches on that will solve the problem, the race problem.
Yes.
And solve it in record time. That's the purpose of everything that I'm writing and everything I'm saying on this program.
Okay.
End the system of racism and replace it with justice in record time.
Yes, sir.
Time, I'm trying to do a thing with these books that we haven't done in time. There are a lot of excellent suggestions out here and efforts being made, but I'm trying to write a book where we wrap this thing up completely and not let it hang on any longer. Try to get it done, really, within the next 10 days if we can.
Yes, sir.
And I try to make suggestions that will do that.
Okay. All right, so producejustice.com.
Producejustice.com. That's how you get the textbook. Okay. And it's addressed to the individual. It empowers the individual. If it doesn't do that, it's failing in its purpose.
All righty. All right, we are in the first hour of the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. He's on the line live from Washington, D.C. My name is Mr. Bobby. I am the co-host. Now, we have a caller on the line, and I'm going to bring this up. This call is free to you, but as you well know, nothing is free. Somebody has to pay for that. and TalkTainmentRadio.com pays for that call. Free to you, but we have to pay for that call. Now, the second hour, which we will get calls, that's not free, and that's why we are pushing hard for you to donate to the second hour so we can keep the second hour going. We're going to do the first hour, but it's the second hour that is concerning. So make sure, especially if you call in, make sure that you dip in your pocket and support the second hour of the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. Okay, caller, you are now on. You can be heard. Go ahead and ask Mr. Fuller your question.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yes, thank you. Good day to you, gentlemen. I was calling in because I heard the question about China. And like Mr. Fuller, I pay attention to movies as well. And one movie that I would like to suggest for people is called The Wall. It stars Matt Damon. And it's about Matt Damon and a group of travelers it's about the Great Wall of China. And they're going to China to search for black powder, which is gunpowder. And basically what I got out of that movie was white people and, yellow people coming together to battle against what I projected to be black people, just based on the symbolism of the characters that they were going against. And, they were green, but I found that melanin to be green in its natural state. So with everything that's going on in Africa, like Mr. Fuller said, is it constructive for Africans? And from what I've seen, it's not constructive for Africans because the Chinese just called in, they just defaulted on Zambia for their debt, so now they control their utility companies, and they also control their media. So it's not constructive for Africans in that sense. And there's also a documentary called We Come as Friends, where they show how whites and Asians have come into Africa and have, kept Africans at the bottom of, the totem pole while they continue to progress. So I just wanted to chime in and just say, what I see happening is white teaming up with so-called yellow people, Asian, to, keep us in an inferior position.
Okay.
And I think that's just a new tactic that they could be using.
Yes. All righty. Thank you for your call and dropping that knowledge on there. Somebody said the more things change, the more they stay the same. It just really seems that way. But as Mr. Fuller has suggested, if the Chinese are doing this, it's still under control and supports the business of white supremacy, because it is a business. That I believe that is why Mr. Fuller refers to The Godfather as being one of the models of how they do this, a criminal enterprise. And as soon as you open up your eyes, you can see that that is just the way that it is. Mr. Fuller, you care to comment on that?
Well, yes, I'll just say that it just shows the power of the white supremacists. See, nobody, the Chinese or anybody else, Japanese, the Indonesians, whatever you want to call them, Indians and whatnot, this is nothing new. The white supremacists tell all of their prisoners of war when to go into a cell and beat the other prisoners. Okay? I mean, we're all prisoners of war. If you're a person of color, you are a prisoner of war. So you obey your master, the prison masters. And sometimes the prison masters will have certain trustees, you might say. They designate who the trustees are going to be.
Yes, sir.
Like in the movie Shawshank Redemption. The warden picks 2 or 3 people to work in his office and whatnot, or to run the library, or to run errands for the warden.
Yes, sir.
And whatnot. The warden can do this. So a lot of black people might say, well, the Chinese are the trouble. That's what the white supremacists want us to do. See, like they always want to say that some other black person is bossing other black people.
Yeah.
No, there's no such thing as a black boss anywhere on this planet in the system of white supremacy. This is just a messenger. That what you call a black boss or a black president of a country is he's just another prisoner of war.
Yes.
I mean, and the white supremacists tell him what to tell the other prisoners of war. That's all it is.
Yes. Mr. Fuller, is that why you often...
That's what white supremacy means.
Yes.
If you don't understand white supremacy, then you don't understand anything.
Say it. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Is that why you often make the comment, and you repeat this several times in the show, in all 9 areas of people activity? And you name them every week, starting off with economics, what else?
Economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. The white supremacists run every non-white person's business on this planet who is breathing, and even those who are buried, because they tell people where they can be buried.
Yes, they do.
Where they better not bury somebody.
Mm-hmm.
White supremacists do that. They own all the land on this planet. When I say own it, I mean they possess it.
Yes.
I mean, you know, and you'll say, well, oh no, the Chinese occupy a whole lot. Prisoners occupy a lot of land. Okay? Look at it that way. Prisoners occupy land. Just because you're walking on some land doesn't say that it's yours. Whomever controls you controls the land that you are walking on. Don't forget that for one moment. And just because you look around and say, this is my country and I got plenty of land, ask yourself the question every day, who's got you? Who has you?
Mm-hmm.
Because whomever has you has everything that you say you have.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's why I came to the conclusion, as you have suggested, that this is a prison system. And then you make a visual reference that we have in our mind of the Shawshank Redemption and everything that goes on in the prison system of white supremacy.
Yes, and I am a convict in that prison, okay? In fact, every black person who's ever asked, have you ever committed a crime? Because I've been asked that question.
Oh, yeah?
And I said no, and so I made a false statement without knowing that I made the false statement, but I got all kind of records that show that I have made that false statement because I have been convicted of a crime.
And what is your crime?
The crime of being black.
Wow. Wow.
And every black person I know has been convicted with the same crime. That's a crime. Being black, breathing while black on planet Earth in the system of white supremacy is a major felony.
That is the key. In the system.
In the system of white supremacy.
Right.
You are a criminal by birth. Even before you were born, you were a criminal.
Yes.
And they treated you like a criminal. All right? So you can't say that you have never been convicted of a crime. You were convicted before you were born.
Wow. Wow.
Not until the truth.
Wow. It's so hard for people
to... So I've made a lot of false statements.
Yes.
You know, just to get a job and all like that.
Yes, sir.
But that was a false statement. I've been convicted of a crime.
Would you put that on your application?
No, I wouldn't put that on there because then I wouldn't get the job because I'm not supposed to know that I've been convicted.
Oh, you're not supposed to know it. Oh, okay. That is your crime of being black.
Now I'm committing another crime.
What? For what? Tell the truth?
By revealing the truth.
Wow. Crime of being black. But many people, many black folk don't want to accept
we all convicts.
Yeah.
And we're all in prison right now.
Right now.
Whether we know it or not.
Well, thank you, whether we know it or not. Listen, let's do this. Caller, hang on. As we going to close out the first hour, this is TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio the way it should be heard. Listen, thank you for the pleasure of your time, and we will see you on the next hour. TalkTainmentRadio.com, radio the way it should be heard. See you the second hour.
Talktainment Radio, worldwide sound. Talktainmentradio.com. We give you a reason to come. The world's greatest radio. We give you a reason to stay. Radio, the way it should be heard. You got the power.
The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guest and not necessarily those of TalkTainmentRadio.com, the management, the staff, or K&E World Network, LLC.
Live call-in talk show. Dial 1-877-932-9766 and join the conversation here on TalkTainmentRadio.com.
This is the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio. Radio, the way it should be heard. And now, Mr. Neely Fuller.
If you do not understand white supremacy, which is racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Only confuse you. Only confuse you.
Welcome to the second hour of the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. I am your co-host, Mr. Bobby, and this is Radio, the way it should be heard. Now, our topic today is why. Why? Why what? Why? In answering the questions, one must always ask why, as Mr. Fuller has stated, and this is what this program is about. Now, to get in contact with the show, do this. You can call in, as we have a caller now, at 1-877-932-9766. You can also go to the TalkTainmentRadio.com homepage, and you'll see a big sign that says Listen Live. Yeah, do that, and this program will come up. It also airs again at 10 p.m. Tonight. You'll also see a donate button there, which we will get into a little bit later. You can do that. You can also go to the YouTube channel to watch us and hear us. Just type in the word YouTube, and then you'll see where a space for us to put in Talktainment. Type that in, scroll down to where it says where you can put in radio, and then another scroll, and then you'll see type in Talktainment number 2, and you're there. You can hit the like and share button, and you can see us at the graphics that come up and such forth. And also you can do this. Go to Facebook.com/Talktainment. You can do that. We try to make it convenient for you to get this program. The second hour, this is the donate hour, and we need your donations, because if they don't pick up, then there will be no more second hour. We'll get the first hour in, that's on Talktainment, but it's the second hour. So you really need to pick that up. If you call in and you're able to, the call is free for you. We pay for that, but something has to be done so we can offset the expense of putting this program together. So this is not for pay for me or Mr. Fuller. No. It's for the continuation of the second hour. Okay, with that being said, why is what we're talking about, and let's go to the phone lines. Okay, caller, you are now on with Mr. Fuller. What is your question?
Good morning, Mr. Bobby, Mr. Fuller. My name is Joe from Harlem, Joe Carter.
Yeah,
I don't have a question, I have a statement. As far as China is concerned, people fail to remember that Russia is China's big brother, and every so-called third world country has a big brother, and usually that big brother is usually white. So it classifies white, rather. So that's something that we need to remember and not to forget. So that's really all I have to say.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Joe. There's been a lot of talk about that, China, and like I said, I read an article last night or this morning about China donating or giving, no, not donating, but giving $60 billion to Africa. Didn't say what country, but Africa. I don't know what that means, but, I could use $1 billion myself, but nobody has offered to give me that. But I don't know why. There's something, as my friend Fred used to say, that there's something funky in Denmark. Something is just not right about that. And one of our callers in the first hour called in and addressed that situation about, what they've done, and especially in Zambia, what the Chinese did. So this is not the first. Okay, Mr. Fuller, going to the Gmails, let's do this. This brother from Canada wrote this. Mr. Fuller, he says, I think I know what the answer is going to be, but I'm going to read his question. He said, what did Dr. Martin Luther King mean when he says, I'm paraphrasing when he said, if the Negro is to be free, he must move down into his inner resources of his own soul and sign with a pen in ink of his own self-asserted manhood, his emancipation and proclamation. My VGQ is, why must I suffer so?
My answer is I don't know. Part of the code is I don't speak for someone else. Dr. King spoke very eloquently for himself. So everybody who studies Dr. King should interpret on their own what he meant by whatever he said. And that's the best way to go with that. What happens when a lot of people are dead is that people start interpreting on their own what the person who was here said when they were here, and which is what they should do as individuals. But asking someone else to interpret somebody else's work, that is something that the code does not advocate. So I can't go along with being a party to that. Making any comments about what Dr. King meant. He meant whatever he said, and whatever interpretation he put on it, that's the interpretation that I will say is the valid interpretation. And if there was some confusion there, well, then you have just that, confusion.
Yes.
But I won't touch it.
Yeah.
I will not speak for anybody who's not Malcolm X, Dr. King, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Marcus Garvey, anybody who has gone before who's not here.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Francis Wilson. No,
yes, sir.
I will not speak for any of these people. That's why I'm saying everybody should try to speak as much as they can for themselves while they're here and clear up any misunderstanding. All right?
All righty.
Even when I come on this program, the one thing I grade myself on is not whether somebody believes what I'm saying or not. I grade myself on whether I'm clear and whether I'm focused.
Yes, sir.
Because one thing I do not want to do is add to the confusion.
Okay. We've been talking about movies, your list of movies, and certainly there are others movies out there that people know about that are good movies where you can glean something of that. My brother in what is called French, I think it was French Guiana, Brother Mirtho, if I am pronouncing it properly, indicated that there's a movie called Miss Sloan. And I did, Brother Mirtho, and since you are listening because you just sent me an email over Gmail, I did see parts of that movie. It's 2 hours and 12 minutes, and, I can glean some things off of that. But he also sent this, Mr. Fuller, a book called Bury My Heart.
In Wounded Knee?
I'm not sure what it is because it cut off right there.
It is by D. Brown?
I'm getting an affirmative. Yeah, I'm getting an affirmative from the people here and also you. Yeah, he mentioned that.
Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee by D. Brown. That's D-E-E Brown.
Yeah, okay.
I think that's the title of the book.
Okay.
It came out some years ago.
Okay.
I had a copy of it, and I misplaced it. I never got around to reading it, but I understand that it is a book.
Yes, yes.
A lot of people can get a lot out of.
Mm-hmm. All righty. Let's do this. 1-877-932-9766 is the number that you can call to get in contact with the show. Don't forget, because I'm going to push this hard this hour, donations. For the second hour, we really need those donations. You might get tired of hearing it, but we want to keep the program going. The second hour, we want to keep it going. So make sure you donate. 1-877-932-9766. Okay, here's a question. Mr. Fuller, my question to you is this. Why are almost all movies on your must-see movie list outside The Shawshank Redemption 40, 50 years old or older? Are there any films with messages for us according to you that came out in the past few years, even the past 20 years. I asked because I know there are several. I heard you mention how you have a long list of movies that people have suggested you see, such as The Matrix, Get Out, Black Panther. Also, I think one movie people should see, if they haven't already, it's a classic called The Marathon Man. What I took away from that film is how all roads, even when you think you are escaping white supremacy, how all roads lead back to the white supremacist. Mr. Fuller, I will wait for your response. Thank you.
Oh, there will be many movies. There are many movies being made right now that probably I need to see. I'll never get around to seeing them. And in the last few years, I haven't gotten around to seeing a whole ocean of movies that have been made that probably have very, 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 and I've heard that they have very, very strong messages.
Yes, sir.
I mean, that you can learn a lot from. But the list of the movies that I have are mostly about white people. I mean, if you look at them, they're old movies. I mean, and most of the movies, you don't see a black person even in the background, okay? In any scene, anywhere, okay? But I say that I've always said that you study, the white supremacists and how they go about doing things more than you do black people, because there's more to learn, okay? But if there are movies that show interactions between black and white, and those are movies that I definitely would say that any movie that would show interactions between white and non-white is very important to see. If the movie has any validity at all,
yes,
if there's any truth in it. And if it doesn't have truth in it, you'll see that too. You'll learn that. I mean, you'll learn when a movie is steering people in the incorrect direction. And you should look for that in all movies, really.
Okay.
Whether or not you're being steered by looking at that movie in an incorrect direction. And most movies, a lot of movies that are recommended and highly touted,
yes,
that include black people, usually, in many cases, I won't say in all or even in most, but in some cases, some of these movies look like they're designed to help black people to think about things that are constructive value, when there's no constructive value in them at all.
Yes. Okay. All righty. Let's do this. Let me see. Okay, yeah, let's do this. I'm going to take this call, and then we'll do what we have to do. Okay, caller, now listen. You are on with Mr. Fuller. Go ahead with your question.
Yes, Mr. Fuller, greetings. Two questions, sir. One, if you had your druthers, how would you organize this particular radio program that you're on today? What would you change about the flow of this program? And, is there something more you'd like to see, something less you'd like to see? How would you organize this particular program?
I don't know, because I am not an organizer. I just make suggestions about what I think would be an improvement, and I don't know anything about broadcasting, anything like that. All the technicalities involved, and there's a lot of it involved, I understand. Lots of things that have to be watched, mostly time and money. I understand that any kind of broadcasting, time is a huge factor, money is a huge factor. So I'm not confident enough to speak intelligently on something that would be an improvement. So, but the code says that anybody who has a suggestion about something that would be an improvement, and taking into consideration the time factor and the money factor, well, that's a part of the code. You make suggestions. Because it's all about what? That one word that I say it's one word, should be one word, constructive problem solving. That should be one word that I started off the first hour saying, that should be in every black person's mind, every non-white person's mind on the planet, and every white person's mind. I say that eventually, if they get off of this white supremacy hobby horse, I mean, and think about constructive problem solving for a change. See, they solve a lot of problems, but they make so many other problems, as a result.
Yes.
And so a part of the code is solve problems without making any. And so that would include your suggestions, broadcasting. How would we solve, if there are some problems with the way the program is being conducted, what would be an improvement, and would there be any problems that would be made as a result of the so-called improvement?
Yes.
All right?
Yeah.
Because you don't want to solve a problem by making other problems.
That's exactly right. Let me interject just before you ask your second question. If, to the caller and listeners, if you knew all that was involved in radio, in the production of the program, let alone TV, most of you would not do it. You just would not do it because it is complicated. Now, sometimes we make it seem simple, but it really isn't. You just have to, either you have it or you don't. At the same time, we're still learning because we make mistakes, i.e., Mr. Fuller and I do not rehearse this show. We don't. We just let it flow as it is, mistakes and all, because we are still learning. So you have to keep that in mind. Go ahead, ma'am, with your second question.
The second one, I will have to get back with you. I'm going to think about the responses to my first.
Okay. All right. Thank you for calling so much. Yeah, a lot of people think, and that they can just do this. It really isn't. And I've had friends and asked them to call in, and they are afraid to call in. And I ask them why. He said, because it's radio. I might say the wrong thing. Well, so what? I say the wrong thing and make countless mistakes all the time. And I'm always trying to improve. But I still do it because I love radio and I love to do it. And I feel that what Mr. Fuller has allowed me to be a part of in getting the word out, mistakes and all, we try to do it. Anyway, that's what we do. Listen. TalkTameRadio.com is a 24/7, no-charge, worldwide broadcasting facility with hosts delivering on various topics such as news, lifestyle, sports, law, health, wellness, religion, and politics. Now, here's one that I'm going to share with you, and I had the opportunity last Thursday as we had a radiothon to speak with some of the programs hosts that came on, show hosts that came on, and one of the shows is the Your Time to Travel, and I got to talk. Well, Mr. Tyus wasn't there, but his co-host was there, and she explained just how important that show is with news about traveling to different places, the updates, all the things that are involved in that program, Your Time to Travel. Now listen, if you are going to travel somewhere, you might want to get in contact with them and get the latest information. Now that show is exclusive to TalkTameRadio.com. That is radio the way it should be heard. My name is Mr. Bobby, and I am the co-host on the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., and our subject today is why. You've heard Mr. Fuller ask it. One should always ask why. Why should you ask why? Ask Mr. Fuller that. Right now, we are going to take a call. Go ahead, caller. You were able to get in. What is your question for Mr. Fuller?
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
How you doing, Neely Fuller? It's a great honor to talk to you. Me and my mom and my brother, actually, we discovered you from YouTube. Just looking up positive programs and stuff like that, and you've been a big help. I just want to start off by saying that.
Thank you.
No problem. One of my questions is, you say a lot of times that there's white people and non-white people, and I wanted to ask you this. From what I've noticed from my studies, and just from day-to-day worldly viewings and interactions, the other so-called races are ahead of black people, and they don't treat black people too well. For example, races like the Asians, Arabs, on and on in our own communities and stuff like that. It's not good a lot of times. I don't want to say all of them, but I've seen a lot of bad interactions between black, Arab, Asian, Indian, whatever. So I'm just a little bit confused if you can clarify about non-white and white and where those other races factor into that.
Okay, Mr. Fuller?
In the system of white supremacy, that's to be expected. I can't say that enough. All non-white people go at each other. I mean, even the groups that you're naming, they go at each other. I mean, they do very destructive things to each other. It's all about destruction. If you're non-white, you're supposed to be about destruction. And you see anybody with color in their skin, that's something that you try to destroy. Among black people ourselves, we know that better than anybody. We destroy each other and look forward to it. Roam the streets looking forward to it. I mean, that's on our agenda. That is the top of that thing. That's the big thing that we think about. How can I do a job on this other black guy that's coming down the street facing me right now? How can I destroy him or her or do something harmful or say something harmful? I got all kind of derogatory names. That's black people right among ourselves. So we shouldn't even expect anybody to think anything about us that is of constructive value. If some so-called Asian person don't speak to us and all like that, speak to us for what? What are they going to get out of it? Probably get chased down the street if we join up with them, and they join up with us. They see that they'll get a straight dose of what we give each other. Let's be honest about that. How do we treat each other? Not to say anything about how other people treat us, and it's all because of whom. It's like the day's headlines. It's the white supremacists. Who's in the day's headlines right now? And I'm going to put this in here because ain't nobody mentioned it.
Go ahead.
And that is Mr. Bill Cosby. All right? Now, both black people and white people are saying, And, really, in a way of speaking on the surface, you can say that. But what you should look at is the whole background, the whole history of black people within the context of the system of white supremacy. And when you think of Mr. Bill Cosby, you say, hey, because that's what I say, this is just a result of the system of white supremacy. I expect that. I've been expecting it for years, and not only where he's concerned, every other black person out here, okay, when truth is being told, okay, all right, could very easily be in handcuffs. Why? I know who taught us.
Yes.
We know.
Yes.
Okay? I know where we got all of that. Okay? And the white supremacists do too, even though they are sitting up piously in judgment, talking about somebody being deceptive, somebody committing sexual assault. Now, they say that Mr. Cosby hid his, and that might be true. I'm not saying he didn't. But what about the people that they build statues to and brag on for sexual assault?
Absolutely.
Like Mr. Thomas Jefferson. Woo! All right? Sally Hemings. Sexual assault. Right in your face.
In your face.
And bragging about it. Okay? Captain John Smith and Mr. Roth. I think his first name is I don't know whether it's Tom Roth or John Roth. Sometimes I get it mixed up. But Captain John Smith okay? And who? Pocahontas.
What?
A teenager, okay? They brag about sexual assault. They don't say that you're accusing me of sexual assault. They brag about it and put it in the history books. Say that's one of the greatest women, Indian women, that ever lived. Why? Because we seduced her. And then we seduced her whole tribe. All right? And got her father to let Captain John Smith off the hook, in which he proceeded after that to take over everything that belonged to the Indians, including taking Pocahontas to the cleaners, and then laughing at her after her death. All right? These are our teachers. So when you talk about Mr. Bill Cosby, keep that in mind. See, the white supremacists don't make moves unless it's going to give strength to the system of white supremacy, and that's what's happening now. Black people walking down with their heads hung low in shame about Mr. Cosby. But think about his entire background. If he's guilty, where he gets these kind of ideas of doing, deceptive sexual assaults. Jeffrey Dahmer is the poster boy, really, for the world of the entire system of white supremacy.
But that wasn't mentioned, was it?
All they got to do, just read the history of Mr. Jeffrey Dahmer, all right? And you're looking at the portrait of what white supremacy means in its true essence. It means being deceptive, seductive, and then turning people into something that they didn't start out to be, or helping them to be what they started out to be when they wasn't in a dilemma about what they were or weren't. All right? The white supremacists have done this all over the world. And then, after that, kill them.
Yes.
After using them. Well, at least you can say to Mr. Cosby, at least so far, he might have been going into that too. Truth be told, he didn't kill anybody, but the white supremacists rape and then kill.
Yes.
Rape and then kill. Rape and then kill. Rape and then kill. Whole continents of people. Rape, deceive, kill.
King Leopold.
And then brag about it in their history books.
Yes.
And force black people, non-white people, to read those history books and repeat the same acts among themselves. And then stand back and laugh at us or shake their heads saying,
Yes.
This is shameful. Just look at them.
Yes.
Just look at them. Well, we are your children, white supremacists. We are your illegitimate children, and that's the way you raised us.
Mr. Fuller, you're absolutely correct, because it wasn't until maybe 10 years ago that I found out about King Leopold II and what they did in the Congo. Yes. Don't nobody know about that.
A story that will never be told.
Never be told. But I heard...
it's just too much to tell.
Yeah.
There's no way they could have recorded it all.
Yes. But I did hear about the Holocaust, but I never heard about King Leopold II and the horrific things that they did in the Congo. I guess they call it the Belgian Congo. And I wondered, why wasn't we told about that in the history books? But then I had to understand that they are the ones that wrote the narrative.
Oh, sure. They never tell it all.
Never.
I don't care what history book you read about the history of white supremacy.
Right.
They tell maybe about 0.1%
maybe
of what really happened.
Yeah. All righty. TalkTimeAtRadio.com. We go where you go. Check us out on 94.1 WGRN. Podcasts are available. Just download the TalkTimeAtRadio.com app to your cellular, to your tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. Now, I need you to stay right there. We're going to talk about donations, which we need you to do. But also, we got a Gmail from Less Confused. Hear what that person has to say. All that and more, and your phone calls coming up next here on TalkTainmentRadio.com. Radio, the way it should be heard.
For the best home fragrance and beauty products, shop Ash Kickin online.
That's ASHKICKIN.
Made with 100% natural quality ingredients and handcrafted with your family in mind, Ash Kickin products are better than those other guys. Ash Kickin candles, incense, body butter, face moisturizer, and hair moisturizer are priced just right, and you can get yours at 10% off with coupon code TALK17. Support this 100% black-owned business and get your home and body smelling and feeling all right.
That's ASHKICKIN.
Shop Ash Kickin online at www.ashkickin.com.
Are you ready for a high school that allows you to work at a place that is right for you? Are you ready to earn a certification in healthcare, business, or manufacturing while achieving your high school diploma? Then you are ready for Life Skills High School, a free public school option for high school students 16 to 21 years old. Learn more about your free high school educational options at lifeskillshs.org or call them at 1-800-888-7992. Life Skills High School, education that fits your life.
Sex Code War by Kahari Inahara, the author of the Essence Magazine bestseller Race Code War, is releasing his second book, Sex Code War. Be on the lookout for Sex Code War.
If you or someone you know is abusing drugs and or alcohol and want to stop the abuse, contact APDS at 1409 East Livingston Avenue. Office hours are 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. daily and 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturdays. APDS is certified by the Ohio Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services and primarily funded through the Adam H. Board. Fees are based on your income and Medicaid is always accepted. For more information, call 614-253-4448.
This is Al Edmondson, owner of a Cut Above the Rest barbershop. I'm calling on all barbers and beauticians. It's time for us to unite as one. We can serve our communities better together. Join the Ohio Black Barber Beauty Network. For more information, visit www.obbn.org or call 614-427-3226 to get more information. Be the change that you want to see in your community. Join our network.
TalkTainmentRadio.com is proud to present the Compensatory Concept. It is an effective system for countering the effects of white supremacy. TalkTainmentRadio.com is able to carry the first hour. However, the cost for the second hour is exceeding our limited budget. That is why we ask for your kind assistance in keeping the second hour on the air. If you believe like we do, help us in this struggle for justice. Go to the Gold Donate button on the TalkTainmentRadio.com web page and hit the Gold Donate button. That's the Gold Donate button. And please donate. Help us to keep the second hour of the Compensatory Concept on the air. Thank you.
Live call-in talk show. Dial 1-877-932-9766 and join the conversation here on TalkTainmentRadio.com.
I think I'm entitled. You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Go ahead. Make my day.
Keep your friends close, but your enemies closer.
You got the power.
All right, TalkTainmentRadio.com. We go where you go. Download the TalkTainmentRadio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. That is radio, the way it should be heard. My name is Mr. Bobby, and I am the co-host on the Compensatory Concept. And we are with Mr. NEELY Fuller, Jr., and we are speaking of why is the topic today. Why? Why what? Why you want to ask that question? Why you want to know? What does it mean to you? That's what we've been, Mr. Fuller has been sharing and discussing and answering your questions. Now, you can go off topic, and Mr. Fuller, as usual, will answer or respond to that via suggestions, breaking it down for you. Call in, 1-877-932-9766 is the number. Go to the TalkTainmentRadio.com homepage to listen live, and then peek down to that gold donate button and throw a few bucks in there. We need it for this second hour. You can also go to the YouTube channel and type in the word Talktainment, then scroll down and then you see a space where you can type in the word radio, and then go down again, put in Talktainment number 2, where you can listen live and hear, look at us. You can't see Mr. Fuller, but you can see me. I don't know why you would want to do that, but you can do that. And on both pages, the Talktainment page and also on the YouTube page, hit the like and share button. That really means a lot. Okay, and then you can go to facebook.com/Talktainment, and you can do that. You can also hear the replay of this program, because some people like to hear their self-talk. You can hear the replay at 10 o'clock here on TalkTainmentRadio.com. 10 o'clock p.m. tonight, you can hear that. Okay, we're talking about why, and this question, Mr. Fuller, comes from Less Confused. Says, greetings, Mr. Fuller. I really appreciate you suggesting to the listeners to get the code book and read the code book. I have a request or a suggestion, Mr. Fuller, in addition to you recommending to the listeners to get and read the code book. Can you ask the callers who call in to the live broadcasts before they ask their question or make their VGQ statement, ask, have they personally read the code book? This would take only a second, and then could they proceed with their question and or comment? This would be very helpful for victims of racism to help us better understand where the comprehension deficiencies may be coming from, and could help the counter-racist codified questions to reach more victims are actually reading, to see if they're actually reading the book and word guide. My suspicion, Mr. Fuller, is that they are not. Once enough data on that is obtained, then perhaps you can ask if they are comprehending what they have read. Best regards, Less Confused. Mr. Fuller, you care to comment on that?
Well, I'll just say that comes under VGQ. See, I can't tell the listeners what to do, except just make suggestions. You know, I make suggestions about buying the code book and reading it by advertising the code book. But I mean, I can't tell people that before they ask a question that they must do that.
Yes.
It would be nice if they did. I mean, that would expedite. I mean, probably they wouldn't even have to ask the question, because a lot of the questions are answered in the book.
Yes.
All right? But people, you know, sometimes something is going on in the news or something like that, and they tune into this program, and they hear somebody talking about racism, and so it's just my job and my duty to answer whatever questions, according to what I have written, in the way that I have written the answers to the questions, according to the code. Now, it might be a little more confusing that way and takes up a little more time, but at least the person did call and showing an interest in doing what? Solving problems. Here again, I want to emphasize, all of this is about problem solving.
Yes, sir.
We can't lose sight on that. Keeping that in mind more than anything. How best to go about solving a problem of some kind, and the basic problem being the problem of racism. But all of the problems that come from that, anything that helps, anything, any suggestion that anybody makes that helps to solve even the smallest of problems, or the biggest of problems, or the problems inside of problems, inside of problems, inside of other problems, then that's what I'm trying to do with the book and my part of this program. Problem solving, that's all it's about, in the most constructive manner, that is.
Yes, sir. Okay. Here's a question. It says this. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce the name, not even phonetically. But let's do this. Mr. Fuller, everybody has made some critical mistakes with their time and energy that produced a result that had a disproportionately non-constructive effect on their livelihood. What is an example of a mistake you've made in your lifetime, and how did you ultimately correct that?
Oh, just about. Here's the way I answer that in a codified manner. I haven't solved the problem of racism. And everything that I have done that didn't help to solve the problem of racism has been a mistake in every area of activity. My economics, the 9 areas, everything that I've done in the field of education, my schooling and all like that, everything I've ever learned that didn't contribute to replacing the system of racism with the system of justice is a mistake by definition. See, mistakes are made within a context. That's the only context I use. So, to the extent that I haven't solved the problem of racism, my entire existence has been a mistake. I'm going to say that again. To the extent that Neely Fuller Jr. has not solved the problem of racism, the biggest problem in history, Neely Fuller has been a failure in every move that he has ever made in economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war has been, up to this point, a horrendous mistake. And that's the way I'm putting it. My entire existence has been a mistake up to this point.
So how do you correct it?
I haven't solved the race problem, and that's what I was put here for.
Okay. Okay.
That's the way I look at it.
All right.
I haven't solved the race problem, and that's what I was put here for. I wasn't put here for any other reason.
Okay.
I call myself working on it, but I'm not smart enough to have done it.
All right.
And until I get smart enough to do it, I'm a failure. Period.
Okay.
That's the only way to look at it, according to what? Counter-racist science, that's what.
All righty. Before we talk about your book, let's take this phone call. Caller, you are now on with Mr. Fuller. You need to cut your radio down because we're hearing some background noise so that you can ask your question. Go ahead, please.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Fuller, Mr. Bobbitt. I want to first, VTQ, thank y'all for what y'all do. Just want to let y'all know that we do appreciate the great effort that you and Mr. Fuller put in week to week, and the whole step that we don't see behind the scenes. We know it takes money to do what y'all do, and you have to get rid of the second hour. We're glad to have y'all on for 1 hour because we need to keep the information that y'all got spread to the world going. I want to say that VTQ first and pat y'all. Make sure y'all pat y'all self. I've been watching this show for 3 years. I've noticed vast improvement in the way that the show is conducted from Mr. Fuller, the way that he deals with people, from you, from the show. I've noticed vast improvement, and I've noticed improvement in myself from listening to the show.
Thank you, brother.
The show is an improvement. You know. And so my question is, I want to get Mr. Fuller to talk to us about, I've been getting a lot of criticism lately about using the open air method of battling racism and white supremacy, and us as black people will always talk that we should come together to get anything accomplished. We have to, all of us, be in one place, and we know why we think that way. So I want to ask Mr. Fuller, just for as briefly as he can, I know time is can you please go over the open air method of battling white supremacy and racism, and compare it to the four-wall method, and why he endorses that method over the four-wall method?
Okay. Mr. Fuller?
That's in the text. That's in the. I don't have the page number. I got the book right here before me, but
I was trying to find the page number as well. That's also an improvement to suggest maybe the index can be included, because I've been looking for it all morning. I've read the book.
No, it's no index. It's a broad table of content in the front of the book, but it's probably there. I'm sure that I put it there because it's in the original. And so, but, you know, I've been writing so much and talking so much down through the years, so, and plus I'm getting up in age where I don't even remember where I put stuff in my book.
Yes, sir.
All right? So that's just a part of my faults. But in it, a person can just read it, and if they have it, and see, but basically, the open air method is the United Independent Compensatory Code System concept. What that means by open air is just what we are doing right now. Just everybody just give their opinion on how to solve the race problem as individuals. You know, saying the things that we should do, the things we shouldn't do, that's all it is. Things we should do, things we shouldn't do. That's all anything is, in getting things done in a constructive manner. And doing it, what I call by open air, nobody telling you what to say and do. You're not, but the four-wall system is you have a leader that tells you what to say and do. Neely Fuller Jr., even with his book and his programs and all like that, is nobody's leader. I always tell people, don't set Neely Fuller up as somebody's leader. I couldn't lead a horse to water. I can't even lead myself. I'm not qualified to be anybody's leader. Why? I'm a prisoner of war. You don't have a prisoner of war that can lead anybody. I'm captured, okay? And I recognize that. All of the leaders of black people, according to what I have written, are white supremacists. Why? That's what white supremacy means. Leadership. They tell me what to do. How can I be somebody's leader when they are telling me what to do? All right? As a prisoner of war. And I'm going along with what they tell me in order to survive in their prison. I'm in their prison. I was born in their prison. So I'm just writing. Those are therefore the organizational, which is called the four-wall system. In other words, I call it, it's a cliche term meaning you got four walls and you try to cram as many black people in those four walls as you possibly can. Standing room only. All right?
Yes.
I've been in that kind of setting. And it gives you the sense of power when there's really no power there at all. That's just a whole bunch of black people that's herded in four walls. All right? Yeah. But we get the illusion of power.
Yeah, the illusion of power. Wow.
Yes. See, that was true even on the slave ships. I mean, a lot of the slaves on the ship said, "Oh, I look around and I see nothing but black people. We're all together." I mean, you know, we're organized.
On a slave.
No, you're not. You've been herded. It's the difference between being herded and being organized.
Yes.
Okay? No, the compensatory concept, the open air concept is you organize the individual person. And the individual person organizes him or herself around what? Around a code.
A code.
A code of what works rather than a code that does not work.
Yes, sir.
Doing and saying things that work. That's all a code is. And if you get each individual, this is the open air thing, get each individual to do and say all of the things that have a constructive effect, then if you have every individual following that same code and getting that same constructive effect, now you have your world organization. Not a little black organization over here on the other side of the tracks in this town, another little fledgling organization up here in downtown, over on this side of town. And black people are always talking about, you know, getting together. That's one of our favorite terms. Black people need to get together. And we think that black people standing in the middle of a park somewhere, I mean, shoulder to shoulder, I mean, with smiles on our faces or frowns on our faces, we think that that is power.
Wow.
That is nothing but a bunch of black people grouped together thinking that they have power.
Let me do this. In the shack, by the track with the room in the back. Caller, before Mr. Fuller speaks about his book, what is your question for Mr. Fuller?
Yes, sir, Mr. Fuller. During the Afghan War, you would have Afghanistan War. You would have the United States would accidentally drop a bomb on a mosque where you have Muslims inside a mosque praying to Allah. So here's the question: why is it that Allah never does anything about the white supremacists, what they do as far as dropping bombs? And then you had white supremacists walk into a Christian church and shoot 9 Christians. So the question altogether is why is it that Allah nor Jesus can do anything about what the white supremacists do as far as killing them?
Mr. Fuller?
Why is it that who does this?
Why is it that Allah, which is the God of the Muslims, or Jesus, the God of black people, their gods can never seem to do anything to stop the white supremacists from doing whatever they want to do?
Well, you have to ask people who are Christians and people who are Muslims why that is, because I am not permitted to say anything that sounds like I'm criticizing Christians or Muslims or Jews or Buddhists or Confucianists or Hindus or any of the people, the many hundreds, and some people say thousands, of tribal religions on the planet, and I'm only, by the code, authorized, you might say, and qualified, you might say. If it sounds like anything that's a criticism of a religion, I'm only qualified and are authorized to criticize one religion, and that's the religion of white supremacy.
Mm-hmm.
White supremacy is the religion. So now, why the other religions have failed to deal with white supremacy in a way that white supremacy no longer exists, you'll have to ask the people who are members of that religion why this failure. Why? That's a valid question, just like all questions.
Yeah, it's valid.
But I'm not qualified to answer that.
Mm-hmm.
I can only say my religion, which is a compensatory religion that's described in the textbook, eclectic pluralism, it's designed to try to oppose white supremacy, but so far it hasn't guaranteed it.
Okay.
So first you can ask me, Paul, how come eclectic pluralism, that religion that you have, how come it hasn't dealt with white supremacy? Well, I'm trying to deal with it, but so far my religion has failed. It's a failing religion. As long as white supremacy is here, my religion has failed to deal with it, because white supremacy is the strongest religion that the world has ever seen. There's never been a religion as strong as the system of white supremacy.
All righty.
Part of history.
Who taught you how to hate yourself? Let Malcolm ask the question. Mr. Fuller, this is the 45-minute mark, but obviously we have gone past that. But this is the time that we have allotted for you to speak about your book. So go ahead, Mr. Fuller.
Okay, well, I was speaking on it just now, and you can go and get the book by going to producejustice.com. But what I was talking about just now, four-wallism and open-airism, and all about religion, and all about the religion of white supremacy.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the book is about. I mean, under the 7th area of activity, religion, I talk extensively about the religion of white supremacy being the strongest religion that's proven that their practitioners practice it to the hilt. Everything they say they believe in, that's what you see them doing. And I've seen other people of every other religion cut corners on their religion because they have been forced to.
Yes.
They've been forced to take parts of their religion and put it aside, all right, on account of there's so much pressure on them not to be a Buddhist, not to be a Muslim, not to be a Jew,
yes, sir,
not to be a Christian, all right? So, but the white supremacists, they are the only people who say, hey, you pick out any part of our religion that makes us strong, because our religion is about being strong and powerful and kicking non-white people around. Pick out a part of our religion where we don't do that, and you can't find no parts. I mean, they are the only people that I know of who practice their religion all the way They don't cut corners on nothing.
Nothing.
They don't cut nobody no slack. So they're the most powerful religion that I have ever seen or heard about. All right? And certainly witnessed and experienced, because they definitely trump my religion and seems to trump every religion that I've seen, been introduced to. It seems like people kind of wimp out when it comes to dealing with the religion of white supremacy. I mean, I've been around a lot of people. I was raised up in the Baptist church, and, I've seen people talk about doing good and all like that, but I noticed everybody in my church was black, okay? And then later on, many years later, under the same banner of the same cross and the same religion and the same Messiah, I'm looking at my newspaper, and there are people who say that somebody's a white supremacist, walks into a church and just shoots people who are worshiping.
Mm-hmm.
And then walk out and say, yes, I did it. So what? Okay? So I'm saying this religion of white supremacy got a lot of power to it. That's one thing I have witnessed. It's got a lot of power. People might say they don't have no power. I see people hopping out of their way and doing what they say do, even when it goes against their own religion, because the white supremacists come around and say, oh, yes, that was a part of your religion that we authorized a little while ago, but now, particularly when this comes to this thing called molestation and sexual this and changing genders and all like that, we know that your religion said that something about that's something that you don't do. Well, we're saying that's something you better do. And if you don't do it, you're going to be ostracized. You might not be able to, in a few years, to get a job. All right? Because that'll be on your questionnaire. If you don't believe in scatter sexuality, in non-genderization, in absolutely getting rid of the genders among non-white people, I mean, then you cannot work in this place. But getting back to the point, go to producejustice.com, and I say a lot about that in the textbook for victims of racism and in the word guide, which is an addition to it. Producejustice.com.
Okay. Producejustice.com. In the remaining moments, here's a email. You guys have mentioned about movies. Mr. Fuller has mentioned about the movies that we should view. How about books? For example, the book that was advertised today, Sex Code Wars. Mr. Fuller, are all these materials relevant to destroying or dismantling the system of racism?
Oh, the Sex Code Wars?
Yeah.
Now, I have glanced through that book. It's written by Mr. Kahari Inaharo.
Yes, sir.
And I say that, hey, I didn't see anything in the book that people should not read and whatnot, so I say that's a book that will probably, it's got illustrations in it too, it's got pictures in it. My book doesn't have pictures, and pictures are excellent for presenting ideas and whatnot, so I can say that that's a book that I would say that people can look at if they wish to, and maybe should. I have a copy,
okay.
But I haven't read it because I got so many books. I have to really, I'm embarrassed so much because I got about maybe 70 or 80 books that I've been trying to get around to reading for years. All right?
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't even cracked them open yet. And I got more books coming in.
Wow.
That I know that I will never get to. Why? Because like right now, I would be reading. But what am I doing? I'm on the air. I'm trying to do what little bit I can for that's a little breath that's left in my body. But that won't be long before I won't have that.
Okay.
I got to tell my audience right now, I'm 88 years old. And so my time ain't long.
Okay.
I'm in the countdown category.
Count it down. Well, speaking about countdown, guess what? We are at the close of this particular hour. So let me say this. Thank you for the pleasure of your time, listeners, and for yours too, Mr. Fuller. TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio, and radio the way it should be heard. Remember, donations, because next week might be our last show. Hopefully it's not on the 2-hour broadcast, but hopefully send in those donations. TalkToHim@radio.com. Radio the way it should be heard. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for calling in, folks.